Okay, one section on your test is going to be called drawing angles. So when you draw angles, it's a 1-point question, and it would be... Okay, drawing angles for 1 point is going to be half a point for landing it and half of a point for showing me your turning position. So negative means to go backwards, so I'm going to start heading downward. So I already know 460 is more than a circle. So I'm going to swivel 360, and then after the 360 turn, I'm going to go 100 more. So I'm going to use this bottom 90 and 100 more. So that's swiveling and then landing. So you need both parts to get a full point. Okay, so that's how you draw. And then stating a reference angle. So the reference angle is a distance you will be to the closest x-axis. So what I'm looking for with the reference is this amount of space from this x-axis to the angle itself. So we remembered that that space was 100. So over here, this space would be 80 degrees. You cannot have that answer of a reference be negative. You can't have it be obtuse. Don't connect it to the y-axis. What quadrant is this and this happening? So this is dealing with Astica stuff. So if I look at the first analyzing thing, where's sign below 0, negative? So in the bottom. Where is tangent negative? In the diagonals. So my final answer would be, where do they both work? Which is quadrant number, and that's 4. So you have to know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Goes around. Astica goes around like that too. Okay, drawing circles goes around like that too. 0, 90. Okay, we have been given a cos ratio, and we've been told that it's not in quadrant 1, and then I'm asking you to figure out the exact value, trig values for sine and tan. Okay, so cos theta equals 8 over 13. What do I know? First thing I know is Astica. So this cos value is a positive value, so my options are over to the right-hand side. But it's not in quadrant 1. So not that one. So I've now determined I am in quadrant 4. Okay, so I'm going to draw my right triangle that connects to the x-axis. Okay, before I even calculate, I'm going to put positives and negatives on this. Okay, so this side is the horizontal side, so x. What kind of x value should I be, a plus or a minus x? Positive, because I'm headed to the right. And what kind of y value would this vertical wall be? Negative, because it's heading down. This is the radius or hypotenuse, and it is always positive. One of these walls on the triangle is 8, one of them is 13. What goes the where? How do I know? So on my test, I will have a formula sheet, and I can use that, or I can use the stuff. Okay, so on your test, I would give you these 3 ratios. So cos is the x and the r. X and R. So to get this, I'm doing 13 squared, subtract 8 squared. Okay, what do I know about the square root of 105? It's not going to be perfect, right? So if it's not perfect, I leave it because I'm not allowed to answer things in decimals. Okay, everything has to be exact. So 8 over 13, please don't use 8 over 13 like a decimal. That's rounded. Use exact stuff, exact fractions, exact roots. Okay, so my final answer for sine. Sine on my formula sheet is y over r. So negative root 105 over 13 is the answer. The tan of theta on your formula sheet is y over x, y over x. Okay, when I'm done, this is a test, I check my work over. I'm just going to verify I'm in quadrant 4, so cos should be positive, sine should be negative, tan should be negative. That's what that quadrant means. So sine is a negative fraction, tan is a negative fraction, so that's good. Okay, if you ever get negative divided by negative, please simplify that because that would end up being positive. Okay, half of your test is dedicated to solving trig equations. 20 out of the 40 points, or whatever, it's about half. So this is the main focus. So solving for an angle. So the first step is the trig value algebra, done. I have it isolated already. Second step, Astica. So sine was a negative. Where? Third step is a reference. So that's a calculator thing. So first of all, degree mode, that's important. So degrees, I'm going to sine inverse. What do I have to remember when I'm doing this calculator business? Don't write the negative because the negative is in the spots, not the math. So 62.3 degrees. And fourth step, finalize it. So this answer would be bigger than 180, and this answer would be smaller than 360. Okay, on a test, what could I do? Check my answers. I could plug this number in, so I could go like sine 242.3. Okay, if that's my angle, it should equal, and there you go, that's my answer, right? Okay, there's my 4 things. Trig value, Astica, reference, final. Okay, so this trig value stuff is everything from last unit. Okay, so tell me your algebraic strategy when you look at question 5. I would use algebra isolation. Why? Because I only see one variable. There's a cos theta in this. That's the only variable that is present, so I can isolate it. Okay, so I need you to do some moves. You would want to do a -3 to move that over, and a divide by 5. Okay, I get people who stop. You're going to get 25% on these questions because that's just a little bit of the work. Step 2, Astica, cos negative. Astica cos negative. Step 3, reference. So that's the calculator. You're going to cos inverse. Okay, 2 things that are important: no negative, and also you'll want brackets around it like that. Okay, so 2 important things to kind of think about with just the typing process. Okay, and again, I get lots of people who do that and think that's their answer. Don't stop there. Okay, final answers. You're going to do one that's less than 180 and one that's bigger than 180. Okay, also, please look at your number. Does it make sense? Whatever this value is, it's going to be between 90 and 180. I know that number. Whatever number this is, it's between 180 and 270. Okay? So obviously lots of that makes sense. Number 6, you're going to get me a trig value. What kind of strategy from last unit are you going to use? Okay, I can't isolate because I got tan theta squareds and tan thetas. Those are like an x squared and an x. Can't do that. So factoring, recognizing, simple trinomial. So I need 2 brackets with a tan theta and a tan theta to make that tan theta squared. I need to multiply to 3, so 3 times 1. One of them is negative because it's a -3. You got to get me to add to a +2. Okay, so multiplies to -3, adds to +2. Okay, so that work is step 1. That's all you've done. You are going to have 4 answers to this question, by the way, because you're going to have to do work for this and you're going to have to do work for this. So we're going to do 2 drawings. So the -3, I'm going to put in quadrant 2 and 4. And the +1, I'm putting in, so tan runs on a diagonal. So there's your negative tan, there's your positive tan. Okay, step 3, referencing. So you're inversing in your calculator and you're not putting a negative into the calculator. So 71.6. Okay, 71.6 was the reference angle, but I'm going to go smaller than 180, and I'm going to do another one that's smaller than 360 then, right? Okay, and on the other side of the trig values, we got to do it again for 1. So tan inversing 1 gets me 45-degree reference. 0 plus 45, 180 plus 45. Again, you are on a test, you have time, you check your answer. You can plug these numbers in, check them out. Did tan of, I can try 288.4. So tan of 288.4 squared plus 2 times tan 288.4 minus 3. And it should equal 0, but it's going to be a little bit off of 0 because this angle got rounded, so it's pretty close to 0. Okay, number 7, trig value. What kind of algebra are we doing from last unit? No isolation. There's cos squareds and coses. 0, that's good. Now I say, should I factor it? Does it factor? We're going to try it out. So let's think about it being a complex trinomial. My flow number is negative 21. Which is 1 times 21 or 3 times 7. And I need it to add to 5. No, no. Can't get 5. Now what? Quadratic formula is now my new algebra pattern. Okay, so that's my strategy. Okay, instead of the formula saying x equals, you have to write cos x equals, because that's what we're doing. We're figuring out the trig value for cos x. So there's a very common mistake I have to deduct points for, because that's incorrect if you do x equals. X is the angle. We're trying to find cos x, the trig value. Negative 5. Plus minus the square root of b squared. I'm just going to go 25 minus 4, 3, negative 7 all over 2 times 3. Okay, the discriminant part, if I calculate just that, was 109 inside that radical part. So I've simplified the radical part and I've simplified the bottom. Okay, so you're going to go into your calculator. Okay, so on the adding option, I'm getting 0.91. Okay, and then I did the other option, which was to subtract, and I got negative 2.57. Seemed like a lot of work. I'm going to give you 1 out of 4 points for that work, okay? Because that is technically stuff you were all supposed to be tested on last unit. You're pros at it. Okay, so using the formula to get to your trig values. So now what is step 2? Astica. So on this stream, cos is on the right-hand side, positive. On this stream, it would be on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm going to cos inverse the trig value. So I'm going to just use 0.91, 24.5 degrees. In grade 12, when you do this, it's a little bit different because you're going to have to keep that on your calculator, and I rounded that already. So in grade 12, you can never, ever, ever round until you're done everything. So we're going to start slow in grade 11 with rounding, and grade 12, we're going to have to do a little more. Okay. The other one, when I do this in my calculator, okay, so this is what I would do in my calculator, but it gives me an error in my calculator, right? I am going to state something though. To get full points, I have to write no solution. I have to write no solution there. That's another thing. Because am I solving for something? Yes, I'm trying to solve for x. What is the solution for x? Doesn't work. No solution to it. Okay. I'm going to tell you on your test, you are going to have all this stuff. So this one was isolation. This one was simple trinomial. This one was the formula. You're going to have a different one where you do a complex. So see how I'm hitting all the algebra strategies somewhere? Okay, just a side note, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? Because this trig value is not positive or negative. So what does that tell me with my Astica stuff? The angle is not sine positive. The angle is not sine negative. So I'm not in any quadrants. So where could I find my answer then? On an axis. Either like this or this. So you have 5 things to check. You're just going to try them and see which ones work. 0, 90, 180, 270, or 360. Please make sure when you do this line over here, you can call that 0. You can also call it 360. It would have 2. Okay? All right, so your first thing on your test is that I'm going to give you a blank unit circle and you have to have it memorized. You are not going to be able to touch a calculator to do this. Okay? So you're going to do all the angles, 0, 30, 45, 60, 90. Okay? Those are all your special patterns. So can you continue? And then pause, and then I'll repeat them so you can check to see if you got your angles right. And the reason there's another line there is because my grade 12ers have to write it in degrees and in radians. But that's in grade 12. Okay, so 120, 135, 150, 180, 210, 225, 240, 270, 300, 315, 330, 360, if you got them all. Okay, the next thing I do is I do the 4 spots, the 4 corners. So this is 1 right, this is 1 up, this is 1 to the left, and this is 1 down. Okay, so the next thing I do is I head to the right. So you can see how 60 and 300, they are lined up with this number on the axis, the x-axis. So if I increase, the next value is a half. Okay, next coordinate, increasing x is root 2 over 2. Increasing x is root 3 over 2. The final increase gets me to the 1, which I already put in there, but that's okay. Okay, you're going to do the same heading to the left, making sure that these values are now going to be negative. So negative a half, make sure you put that into the x. Negative root 2 over 2, negative root 3 over 2, finally negative 1. Okay, so now I'm going to go where I kind of showed you with my blue. I'm going to increase my heights. So these 2 coordinates would have the same height values. So if I increase a little bit on height, that's a half height. Increase, root 2 over 2. Increase, root 3 over 2. Top increase is 1. Okay, and same thing down, negative a half, negative root 2 over 2, negative root 3 over 2. Okay, so that is a unit circle. You have nothing with you, no calculator, you just get your paper and you have to write all that stuff on there. Okay, I would check for myself, I just want to make sure in this quadrant everything ended up plus plus. I would check myself in this quadrant, did my coordinates end up negative and positive like that? What would coordinates look like on a graph here? Negative, negative, look at my numbers, that lines up. Okay, also I'm always looking to see that 0s and 1s are partnered. 1/2 and root 3 over 2s are always together. And root 2s over 2s are always with each other. Okay, then this is the last outcome. So on your test, what would it look like? You do not get to touch a calculator for this one. So I have your test, I have to hand out. I got a bunch of different sections. No calculator, yes formula sheet though. You do not have a calculator, so boom, I will give you a formula sheet. Okay, sorry, this is my grade 12 one, so I got all these extra radian things on there, but okay. So what do you know about these formulas? Okay, so there's 3 formulas, and that's on a formula sheet provided. But when I look at the unit circle, what is the cool thing that I get to do? I get to drop the R because it's dividing by 1 on the unit circle. Okay, so here we go. First question, you got to go to 150 degrees and it's sine, so the formula says tell me the y value. So 150, the y value is 1/2. Done. Okay, negative 225. So maybe you want to draw it. I don't really know where that is. So I would have to go backwards. This is 180. Would you agree that you would land there? Okay, so if I look on the unit circle, what is the same position as a number? 135. Okay, that would be the same mark as 135. And then it's cos, so what's the formula saying? X. So 135, x value is this one, negative root 2 over 2. Okay, 405, that's, I don't know. So I'm going to draw it out and think about it. So 360, you don't have a calculator. How many more degrees do I have to go past 360? $45 extra, right? 360 plus 40 is the 400, 45. Okay. Now, 10 tells me to take the y value divided by the x value. So here I'm going to go 45. I'm going to write the y value down, divide by y value divided by x value. I'm going to give you 1 second to think about that answer. 1. Okay, you don't need to do any crazy math. You should just see, hey, this value and this value are the same, so when I divide, it's going to make a 1. 10 is y divided by x, and 270 is at the bottom here. So y value divided by x value is which one? Which value do you think that's going to be? Your answer should have been that it's undefined. Okay, so do you see the difference of when I wrote no solution before? Because I was trying to solve for something. Here, I'm not solving for anything. I'm trying to get a number, just a number. Like how you would do 4 times 5 is 20. I can't come up with a number like that. So it's undefined. Okay, 180. What is the, all I want here is what is the x value? 180. What is the x value? Negative 1. Sine. So what is the y value at? Negative 270. So you'd have to figure out where you would be on this circle. So if I dropped backwards, I would land up top at 90. And looking at 90 spot, what is the y value? 1. Okay, final question. $2.10 and 10 tells me to take the y value divided by the x value. That's what my process is. So 2.10, I got a y value, -1/2, divide by x value. Okay, one thing I know is my final answer is going to be positive or negative. What do you think? Positive, because this is a negative and then this is a negative, so that would divide to be positive answer. What do I do with fraction math? Times flip. The 2's can disappear. Okay, we just said the negatives would also disappear, cancel. And there's my answer.